Hi, I'm Mr. Burke. Welcome back to my Introduction to Latin series. Today we're going to be talking about adjectives. So, what is an adjective? Well, an adjective is something that describes a noun. Remember, nouns are people, places, things, and ideas. So in The Woman Fights the Farmer, your nouns are woman and farmer. Now, if we describe the woman or the farmer in any way, we'll use an adjective to do it. The small woman fights the evil farmer. Notice small describes the woman and evil describes the farmer. That means small and evil are adjectives. In Clifford the Big Red Dog, we have two adjectives, both describing the noun dog, big and red. But in order to talk about adjectives in Latin, we have to start by talking about nouns in Latin. Adjectives will copy a lot of their properties from the nouns that they're describing. I'll explain what I mean in a bit. Let's start with this. How do we translate of the farmers? Well, that would be agricularum. We make it plural because I said farmers, and we make it gendive because I said of. These are two of the properties. Singular or plural we'll call the number, and gendive is one of the cases. So nouns can have number and they can have case. But they also have a third thing, and that's gender. To know the gender, we need to know the dictionary entry. Agricularum comes from agricula, agriculae, masculine, which means its gender is masculine. These are the three properties of nouns: gender, number, and case. In order for an adjective to describe a noun in Latin, it needs to match that noun in all of these properties. We will often abbreviate gender, number, case as GNC. So often you'll hear your teacher say, an adjective needs to match its noun in GNC. That's gender, number, case. So in order for an adjective to be able to match any noun in gender, number, and case, it's going to need a chart. And it's going to need a considerably bigger chart than the ones we've seen so far. It's going to need a chart that covers all three genders, all five cases, and both the singular and plural. So altogether, that's going to be 30 forms for each adjective. Here is one such chart now. But don't panic, we've already learned this chart. Let's take a little more time to look at it. Notice the masculine column is the first column. That pattern is us, I, o, o. I, orum, is, os, is. Well, we've seen that before. It's second declension. And the second column, the feminine column, follows I, I, aurum, is, as, is. Well, we've seen that before. That's first declension. And the third column, I, o, aurum, is, a, is. Well, that's just the second declension neuter. We call adjectives with this pattern first and second declension adjectives. We call them that because they follow the second declension in the masculine and the neuter, but the first declension in the feminine. This makes some degree of sense. Remember, first declension nouns are usually feminine unless they're jobs, and second declension nouns are usually masculine or neuter. But what's crucial to remember is adjectives don't match the nouns they describe in the ending. They match the nouns they describe in gender, number, case. Here's what I mean by that. We were saying of the farmers, agricularum. Let's say I wanted to say of the good farmers. Well, our word for good is bonus, bona, bonum. So I need to make bonus, bona, bonum agree with farmers in gender, number, and case. Now, some beginning students will say things like bonarum agricularum, but that's wrong. Arum is not the ending we're looking for, because we're not trying to match an ending. We're trying to match in gender, number, case. That means we're looking for the masculine, plural, genitive. So let's pull up that chart again. If we look under the masculine column in the plurals for the genitive, we're going to find orum as the ending. So it's going to be agricularum bonorum, or bonorum agricularum. The order doesn't matter. Notice that the orum and arum aren't the same ending, but they do convey the same information. They both convey genitive plural. And then agricula, by virtue of being a job, is masculine. And bonorum, by virtue of being an adjective in the second declension, is also masculine. Here's what I'm trying to say. The gender of a noun is not dependent on its declension. First declension nouns will often be feminine, but there are exceptions, like agricola or poeta. But the declension of an adjective is dependent on its gender. Any adjective you see with an arum ending will be feminine, and any adjective you see with an orum ending will be either masculine or neuter. When translating a noun-adjective phrase, like of the good farmers, I recommend you start with just the noun, of the farmers, and then use the properties of the noun to decipher how to translate the adjective, good, like we just did in that example. Let's return to our earlier sentence. The small woman fights the evil farmer. Well, let's start by just saying the woman fights the farmer, and we can add our adjectives in later. To say the woman fights the farmer, we say femina agricolam pugnat. Notice that femina is nominative because woman is the subject, and agricolam is accusative because farmer is the direct object. Now, if we want to say the small woman, we need to parse femina. Well, femina is feminine, singular, nominative. So our adjective for small is parvus, parva, parvum. So we go to our chart, we find the ending a for the feminine, nominative, singular. Femina parva. Now we want to say the evil farmer. So evil is modifying farmer. Well, agricolam is masculine, singular, accusative. So we go to our chart, and we find our masculine, singular, accusative ending is Well, the word for evil is malus, mala, malum. So malum agricolam. Femina parva malum agricolam pugnat. The small woman fights the evil farmer. A few more things I need to talk about. You'll notice that when I've been giving the adjective dictionary entries, I've been saying things like malus, mala, malum, or bonus, bona, bonum. An adjective dictionary entry gives you the nominative singular for the masculine, bonus, the feminine, bona, and the neuter, bonum. If we look at our chart, the dictionary entry is giving us the forms for the first row of the chart. Not all first, second declension adjectives will end in us in the nominative singular. You'll also get things like pulcher, pulcra, pulcrum. In this case, to find the stem, look at the feminine, pulcra, and take off the ending a. You'll find the stem is pulchr. So if we go to the masculine column, it will become pulcher, pulcri, pulcro, pulcrum, pulcro, etc. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, we learned about first and second declension adjectives. We learned the full chart for how to decline them, and we also learned that adjectives must match their nouns in gender, number, and case, or GNC. Lastly, we learned that the adjective dictionary entry gives us the nominative singular, masculine, feminine, and neuter, often in the pattern us, a, but sometimes in the pattern ar, a, Until next time, wale!